Well, hello everyone. This is Josh. I'm a business developer here with DNS Filter, and we're really excited to have part two of our 5 webinar series, our Webinar Wednesday series, where we go into things that will help MSPs to sell, to know what's going on in the channel, and just kind of some generally helpful content for MSPs. So our speaker today is Bill Rosier. He's a marketing consultant for Achieve Unite. Bill has been in the channel for a long time. And Achieve Unite, his business is a leading provider of outsourced demand generation and sales solutions for MSPs. So he knows really a lot about what to do with social media. And I know that that's a challenge for a lot of people. So we're really excited to have you on, Bill. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Josh, and excellent introduction. I'll try to live up to that for sure. We're going to talk about a couple of things today. So digital selling isn't just social media. We're going to show you some advantages to using social media to help close some new business. But I'm also going to let you in on some ideas about your website, just some things you can do from that digital dialogue standpoint online. For sure, as we go through this, and I'm going to go pretty fast, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 things that are takeaways immediately, regardless of how sophisticated you are in your marketing or sales group. I know that there's business people on. I know we've got marketing teams on and some sales people on. So I'm going to try to touch something for everyone, but I want to make sure that you have something to take away for sure. By default, we're really going to go through this at a very high level. But if you do have more in-depth questions or things that you want to know a bit about, certainly the Q&A at the end of the presentation gives you the chance to do just that. But ultimately, this next few minutes is about how to make you more competitive online without a lot of money or effort. It's really trying to use the fulcrum of some really quick ideas that will give you an advantage in the marketplace. So nice to be with DNS Filter and friends of DNS Filter. I know that Josh has given me a profile of you as groups of MSPs. So I'm going to try to hit a vocabulary that is your vocabulary as we go through. And again, if there's questions, certainly at the end, and if there's even more pressing questions that you have, you can find me on LinkedIn and direct text me, and I'm happy to answer anything that you might have. As we're kind of rolling through here, a little bit of my own background is I've been in telecom and in technology literally for my whole career, so call it 30 years. And kind of at the end of my time was really more of a revenue strategist than anything. When we're talking about finding a way to retire business, to retire quota, to make salespeople heroes, it really comes down to the internet. And it can be the web in general, it can be social selling, but it is about being really strategic and really focused about what you're doing. So I work for Achieve Unite, as Josh said. Really, if you've not heard of Achieve Unite, we're really kind of senior channel and partner strategists. Not theorists, I might say. Everyone on the team has come from a pretty good body of work, and consequently, our insights we can put into practice. It isn't just theory, and I think as consultants, sometimes they might hand off things that are pretty hard to implement. This is really kind of a working session as we go through this, and again, I'm looking forward to answering some questions toward the end. If you're not familiar with CompTIA, and you should be, I hope you would be, today's session was actually developed with them. Really great group of people. CompTIA exists as education to the technology channel or IT channel. And that education can go or be in a lot of forms. And it really gives you a chance, both live in their seminars or in their webinars, to get access to some of the brightest people in the space. Can't talk enough about them. They have 2,000 members, and if you love great insights, you'd love this membership. So I hope you're taking, if you are members, I hope you're taking full advantage of it. If you're not members, I hope you do get there quickly. So, just as I said, we're going to make you think about the internet in a little bit different way. We're going to go pretty fast, but I'm going to give you some things that you can use tonight, tomorrow. some things that you can use pretty quickly. The first part of that is we're going to talk about the internet as an answer machine. And I think when you get kind of our point of view of why that exists, it'll make you start building content differently. It'll make you think about what you post differently. And here's the good news, is it will allow you to come up in organic searches in a much more predictable way. And when that happens, you can start talking about lead generation. You can start talking about finding business, new business. The new world order of social media. Only say that because it's changed so much. Even in the last couple of years, if you've been on social media for 5 years, enormous change, changing every day. But there are some tricks in social media that make it a wonderful sales environment, a wonderful place to discover prospects or connect with new clients or even old clients. It's a place for some digital dialogue that can extend revenue opportunities or find or discover new ones. And then we're going to talk a little bit about analytics. Not to the point that you're asleep at the end of this, but a couple of things that will help you when you're thinking about what you want to measure. And some of this you could guess. I think maybe there's a couple pieces that might be new to you, but it is because we live in a numeric world. And while we would like to talk about brand impressions and emotions and gosh, we've got a lot of engagement, what your bosses or the CXOs of your company demand are really numerical equivalents. And analytics, particularly as it is in the digital arena, is possible. And when I say get you promoted, analytics not only make you smart, but it makes the people around you smart. So the whole reason for the next few minutes is kind of this landmark study that happened several years ago with CEB Marketing. I believe Gartner might even own them now. And what they did changed everything if you're a marketer. What it said was this, that today, if someone is pinging you, they're trying to subscribe to something you're doing, they're trying to get a hold of a salesperson, they're signing up for a webinar, they are almost done with their discovery. So in the old world, that was all done with a sales team. A sales team would make an introduction, they would be the ones going through discovery, they'd be doing a lot of work. It's the same, what they're doing to find your service, to find your products, to find your portfolio is the same thing that you do to buy a car, to buy an aquarium. It's the same exact thing. They're just doing it for business. And so what's changed for the marketing folks is that they have to make sure they get into the consideration set. To do that, they have got to be excellent on the internet, and more they have to be really clever on the social media side. If you're a salesperson and you're on the call, what it means is by the time a marketing person talks to you, they're not telling you that someone picked up a hat at a trade show. They're going to have, with some luck, a fairly lengthy list of things that customers downloaded, they've engaged on, pages they visited. They're going to have a lot of analytics for you. And when they hand them to you, they're really kind of handing you a baby. It is not somebody that is uninclined to the conversation. They're, in fact, ripe for the conversation. It is the perfect azimuth between marketing and sales. So, as I mentioned, nobody wants to be sold to anymore. And so much of this today has really destroyed some of the old techniques. And I think all of us have been through cold calls. We are on the receiving end or have done them as kind of inquiry. They're just not answered anymore. It really doesn't matter. It's just not part of the sales process. Your customers are coming to you now incredibly educated. They're not just educated on your space, they're educated on your competitor space. If you have a different vocabulary and threat than someone else, they're going to know the difference. And so they're educated, they have insights, and you need to be able to be compelling and provocative to keep them on your side. So in essence, this problem solving, which becomes the internet, is the way that we're going to help find and point the internet back at you. So internet has become an answer machine. I mentioned this before. It's just like everything you do today. If you have a Kindle and you're getting a new book or you're buying something new, you're looking at reviews. You're looking at price points. You're looking at spec. People are doing this now for your business. And so a couple of very important things have changed because we need to get those inquiries into a sales funnel. We need to ultimately make sales heroes. So depending on how sophisticated you are in your website, you may have product information, corporate collateral, careers. These things are pretty standard fare. Career is always the most visited page on any site, believe it or not. But the problem with this thinking, or maybe the old architecture of non-interactive websites, is they're static. They don't allow for a lot of bidirectional conversation. They just become a dissemination hub, distribution hub. Now, they're still important, but what happens is it doesn't become the cash register or the electronic cash register that you want to have happen. And it may be that, in fact, that's what you have. We could all dream and say, well, if we had all the money in the world and we had all the headcount in the world, we would have something in major social channels. We would take our content, cut it up in pieces and syndicate it. And instead of having hundreds of views, we'd have millions of views. You might have a developer community because you're inspiring people on your side to write code or compile code. Big video budget, because I think YouTube it is either the most search site or the second most search site on the internet. People don't want to read anything anymore. They want to watch. And by the way, they have about 90 seconds worth of attention span. Webinar is really interesting because it is the top indicator of someone that is in a buying cycle. That their webinars, for whatever reason, when we look back at leads that we pass, number one tick in the box is, have they been to a webinar? If they've been to 2 or 3, you've got somebody that is fully compiling a list of finalists, and you need to be in there. It could be training certifications. It could be translations, any number of things if you had all the time and money in the world. But I'm going to show you a couple ways that if you're maybe more of the website ahead of this one, we can equalize. The internet can become an equal answer machine for everyone. So how the answer machine works, and I want you to think about, is interactive experience, not just the distribution experience. You already live in a world where people have gotten this really great. If you're a Netflix customer, an Amazon customer, I have some motorcycle websites, I've got some cycling websites, and the AIs, and we're calling them AIs today, particularly if you're in Salesforce or Marketo, that they can build in and anticipate what the next thing you're going to do is, starts answering questions even more deeply. But it all starts with this: what is, how to, where is. So what is phishing? How to prevent a phishing threat? Where is phishing threats most likely? It could be any number of things, and I'll leave this to Josh and you to decide what are the questions you want to answer. But when you answer them in that vocabulary, what is, how to, where is, just because you type it the very, very same way, you become an organic hit in Google and are likely to rise in their organic return much, much quicker than you could even buy your way up. So what it means, I think, as marketers, is that we're in a problem-solving process. Buyer's journey is interesting, but I think it's more important that marketers appreciate that we need to be solving problems online. It could be in content, it can be in social media, or even how your web pages are constructed with headlines and subheads. But it's what problem are you solving, and can you anticipate the next question from there? Really important to make sure that you look like an expert, again, whether you're in the social side or the internet side, and keep the dialogue going. So the best answer actually has some components to it. And I don't think any of these are really a surprise. You really, the internet has changed marketing and sales to that, in that manner, that it is kind of the science of marketing has taken over the art of marketing to a degree when you're working on the internet. SEO, for sure, you've got to have the right title and copy and be able to tag content wherever it is, photography, illustration. It's just got to work back to either the page or the content that you're hoping for, or any of the other marketing assets that you're doing. There are people that can do this. It may not necessarily be you. It's not an expensive thing to do, but how you put the letters back in the box are really, really important. When you're building pages and content, social handoffs are critical because two things happen. You get a higher grade from Google in the search when you do that, and it gives you a chance to be followed. And even if all you had was a LinkedIn page, it gives you a chance to raise your profile in the answer machine. I mentioned trying to get to this place where you can guess what the next content is. If you're good at this and you're using some really good marketing engines, there's so many of them out there. HubSpot's another. You can build in journeys in which every couple of weeks somebody that has downloaded a particular piece of content gets the next piece of content. Those pages or that content can provide subscriptions. It allows you to build a house file of data of prospects and suspects. It is the most powerful single marketing asset you can build today. Much, much better than anything that you buy. It may be that you get a chance in the developer community, whether through actual design community or where they're picking up their code snippets or their shortcuts or their patches, you start finding those individuals and try to build profiles of those. Most important though, it shows you the route of the engagement, it shows you the route of the conversation. You're thinking about what questions you're asking and you're answering those questions because that's what they do. And funny thing about it, it's never about you. It's never about you as a company. It's really about the information that you're trying to impart on somebody. So at DNS, we do that really is a non-starter. It's always about what is phishing, what is, how to, and it doesn't mean you're not the author of it because you're the brand on the page, you're the brand on the content, but you're trying to answer generic or very, very descriptive questions. It really is part of that science of digital selling. It creates huge engagement. It follows business rules, not necessarily brand rules. And what happens is it starts creating things that can be introduced into the sales funnel. All right, so I told you that as we went through this, there's just 2 or 3 places I'm going to stop and give you something that you can use right now. So here's an idea for later today. If you go to Grader.com and put in your website, they go through 4 or 5 different analysis. One is latency, I think. One is SEO, maybe. I can't recall. I haven't been there for a bit, but in just a few minutes, it will tell you how good your website is. It'll also tell you where the problems exist. So it might be mirroring, it might be where it's staged, it could not, maybe it's not maximized for mobile devices. You'll see that instantly. It's pretty cool if you've never done it. And I encourage you to do it. So that's kind of the web page side of this, or collateral side of it. We want to point the internet at you. The way you do that is by answering questions on your web pages. And again, if somebody wants to ask at the end of the presentation or hit me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to show you the really great examples of how that's happening, because once you see the examples, you instantly go, well, I can do that. I know exactly how to do that. But we're going to talk just a few minutes about social media because there's a lot of mystery here for folks, or maybe not so much. Again, we have a group of people in different capacity, so I'm not sure to what degree or how sophisticated you are, but we're just going to go through for a few minutes and talk a little bit about social media and some things you can do, even if you never want to write a post in your life. So this slide exists just to show you the enormity of what's happening on the social side. So a lot of people, they're all on the internet, they're active media users, they're really most active on mobile devices, which is a clue here about your website design, responsive design particularly, and that social media largely is consumed on mobile devices. And if you've seen your children or anyone, if you have college-age kids, or even today, you yourself, Instagram for me, I'm on Instagram a lot, and even today. So, but it's all driven by mobile devices much more than even your desktop is. And back to the analytics that get you promoted. These numbers might be surprising to folks, or they might be even smaller than someone would think it is a year old. But the point is that this is not a nice to have. Social media is not a nice to have anymore. It is something that if it's not part of your marketing mix, it's going to be part of your competitor's mix. And you need to have a strategy about how you're going to engage, even if it's just listening. So important questions to ask if you're getting started in social media. Oddly enough, your customers will tell you. If as marketing people or CXOs or sales teams, if you ask your customers what they watch on social media, they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you the channels. They'll say LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. They'll tell you who they're looking for, who they're following. It could be luminaries. It could be businesses. It might be publications. They will tell you. But you want to follow, just as a consumer, or a professional competitor, you want to follow those people or those media sites that your customers use, because they are seeing future trends there. They're seeing opportunities there. They're seeing definitions of technologies. They're just seeing a great number of things that will help future-proof you as you're having a conversation yourself. You'll see clients talking on media. It gives you a chance of what that digital dialogue looks like. What's really fun is it gives you a chance to have a unique story that at some point, no matter how small you are, and let's say that you're listening to this and you have 5 people and you wear 5 hats. I know that if I spent just a bit of time with you, or anybody did, there is something really unique about what you're doing, and you can maximize that. You can create a fulcrum of confidence and authenticity by defining what that story is and how you're going to tell it. And particularly if you will get back to pointing the internet at you, answering those questions become hyper important. We're going to make sure that social media, that you're heard on it. We'll show you how to reach a larger audience. And ultimately, when you say, will my executive team support, you need to have the support, of course, of your executive team or your CXOs or your business leaders, only because they see their own brand, they see their own business being put online and having conversations about it. It's important that they themselves agree. I'm going to simplify this so that what they're agreeing to becomes really simple in the beginning, so that you don't find problems with it, and they find a reason to be inspired by it. All right, so do's and don'ts. Again, pretty simple pieces here. You need to share with your team, and again, regardless of how big your company is, what you're doing, what the strategy is, how you're sharing it, and what you hope to be accomplished. That way, when they see that you're using LinkedIn and that you're using Josh, because Josh is an expert in channel management, and he's your best spokesperson, and he's well written and handsome, and he's going to be able to have a lot of followers. It's all going to work. You want to research your competitors. While you're thinking about how you become a publisher, the research of your competitor is even more important, because you can watch what they're doing, not just on their website, but in the social side of their world. Really fun too, to share your momentum. Momentum is how many people, just today, just like your kids do today, they share images on Snapchat, they get likes, they get shares, or even Facebook. You'll start seeing momentum about how you're impacting, I guess, your business, even by something as simple as what are the 5 do's and don'ts of phishing threats. It's not a hobby, so there might be somebody inclined in your business to it, which is great, but you have to be pretty dedicated in terms of what you want to do. It's not an email engine. You don't publish 3 or 4 or 5 things a day. In the beginning, 1 a week. Is there something you can publish once a week? And you'll find, particularly in blogging, it's pretty simple to do. And you don't use too many words or ignore images. It's a little bit, that's a misleading statement. You want to use images, but you want to make it simple that people on a phone can get a sense of what it is you're talking about. It's not a dissertation. It's not a white paper. Most posts are quite short, and they have links to something that shows that you're an expert and that you're an authority. More facts for those that want to get promoted from the analytics side is that these are members and monthly members that MAUs are, I think, is monthly activated members. Facebook is the biggest, obviously, 2 billion, but Instagram really, really big because it's kind of image-based. and I'm going to talk about each one of these individually, but probably the place where most of us start in the sales team and marketing side is how do we create a presence on LinkedIn. I'm going to go through that with you. The rest, kind of interesting. We're not going to talk too much about them. We're going to really kind of focus on LinkedIn at the moment, but I'm going to show you some why you would use these and why you wouldn't use these. And you probably have some folks in your business that can give you some experiences that they have already that they're doing themselves. But you have to pick one. It's roll the dice a little bit, but I'm going to show you how it's not just a crapshoot. It is a strategy, what you're trying to do, how you're trying to portray yourself, and what makes best sense to you. If you're on this call and you're in the sales team, here's why you really have to do it. This is from Price Waterhouse. Look, almost 80% of sales teams that are using social media think LinkedIn exceed their quota by almost 25%. It's because you get a chance to find those individuals, or they can find you, that are looking for exactly what you're selling. It gives you great clarity and great precision. So, as I mentioned, to get started, pretty simple. You just got to have a strategic audience in mind. I'm going to spend some time on LinkedIn only because it's where so many sales teams and marketers are already spending time. But that doesn't mean if you're on here and you're in HR or you're a CXO, these all have their place. I'm just trying to get people where the easiest place to get started is. We've talked about trying to find one or two that's best aligned to you. Might be Facebook, might be LinkedIn, once a week to publish. And think about it as a trial period of 3 months. I mean, this is the part that's not a hobby. You put 2 posts out there and you get 3 likes, and you go, what a waste of time. I'll tell you my own experience, and I've started all the social work at Sienna. Some of our returns in the first months were in the dozens, not big. But after some time and adding some science, they were in the millions. And it's just a matter of deciding that this is going to be the place you're going to be and that you want to be an authority in the place. If you're going to do only one thing, write a blog, because I'm sure within your sales team, your technical teams, your marketing teams, you've got some people who are really clever. They're very insightful, and they're probably pretty good writers. The great part about this is you don't necessarily have to write it. You can go out and find articles that tell your story. I'm going to use Josh the fishing story again, but say, look, I just found with the new European security standards, they have a different take on 3 reasons that fishing is going to change in EMEA. And here's the article. That's all it is. That was 2 or 3 sentences, and you're proving that you're an expert and you're giving something to somebody that's very valuable they may not see again. It also gives you a chance to use a whole lot of different voices. Really fun for people inside of your business. They become something of internal experts, depending on where they are in the business. And you get a chance at doing some testing. So we know for sure if you say 3 reasons, 3 outcomes, 4 things that will happen, for whatever reason, that numerical number suggests to individuals how fast the read is going to be, but you can test that. And just the ability to say, look, we're going to do a 5 list, and then we're going to talk about, we're going to have a headline that doesn't include a number. You get a chance to test the traction you're going to get in social media by just using different headlines. Your employees can be involved, and it makes it really easy to share when it's curated. And you'll see this happening with your competitors today. All right, so LinkedIn, we already talked about it to some degree. Best for sales teams, best for marketers. It's just because it's where everybody is at. Really fun if you're a marketer, that if you're buying lists from publications or websites today, the LinkedIn list will outperform every list that you buy. It's just where the people are at. There's paid options and there's free options, and LinkedIn, as you would, I guess, expect, are really excellent educators, and they will help you understand how to maximize your value on that platform. Great place for curated content. I think most people I know in LinkedIn are using curated content. They find content at other places in LinkedIn or online, and they post it back to LinkedIn, and it makes you look really clever. Also, it allows for brand pages, business pages, or your individual pages. If you're going to do one thing, do the blog, because it's searchable, it's simple, a lot of people can play on it. It gives you just a very broad appeal. If you want to really be kind of a bit more precision, you want to use it as individuals, as businesses, LinkedIn makes it really simple to do. And I'm guessing most people on this call have a LinkedIn profile already. You may not have a business profile, or the business profile may not be, go back to that answer machine, may not be answering enough questions. Facebook is one of the big ones, of course. It's been around the longest. They measure their platform in billions. A great place for culture. So Facebook gives you a chance to say the picnic side of what you do, the philanthropy side of what you do. It gives acquisition for HR, makes it easier for them to post jobs to. Not quite as focused as LinkedIn, not as broad as a blog. But it isn't the place I think most people stop looking for sales leads. It is just a place where people can get a sense of the DNA, the culture, the composition, the chemistry of what it is that you do. They also offer a great ad strategy, and probably driving Facebook users crazy today. A lot of ads. YouTube, as I mentioned, top social signal for Google. They own it. So if you're posting video, it is the most consumed asset today on many, many marketing mixes. Think about short form video. How do you do something in a couple of minutes? Really, really great for knowledge transfer. It could be certification. It could be, if you're in your MSP environment, that holistic marketplace, you might just want to do, look, Josh here, I'd like to explain these 3 things to you. You can connect to me on the bottom, and you can really set up a following. What happens is it makes it really easy to become a superstar. And it's excellent on mobile devices. All video play well on devices, and it's really, really easy to share. Back to pointing the internet at you. How do I do something on YouTube? Same way you search it today. Twitter, character counts are short. It's meant to be fast. Good place for news. Good place for you to post news. It might be new customers. It might be events. Could be any number of things. Real-time news of the moment is really what it's about. And you get a chance to extend your impressions there by the use of hashtags. We won't go into it, but it gives you a chance when you see Twitter posts today, a lot of extension by where they're building connections to. A lot of free and paid options on how you get in and make it more of a marketing campaign, and where a lot of influencers are. A lot of people spend their entire career, or have spent their careers, being influencers, authorities, celebrities, in this case, kind of almost scientific folks, technology people, that are trying to guess the future for you. And influencer strategy is really pretty inclined toward Twitter. Instagram, purely visual. A lot of photography. You get a chance to put in some slight copy, not much. Very mobile friendly, easy to share, and it just gives you a sense of, again, your kind of the chemistry of what you're doing, the DNA of what you're doing. Really important for new hires in this, where it's becoming so competitive for great talent. Really simple to find those people and give them a sense of what you're about. You see a lot of smiling faces on Instagram for corporate accounts. It has a lot of high recall because you remember images way more than you remember data. All right. Number 2, remember I said I was going to just give you some things that you can use almost immediately. One was grade your website. This one is, of all those things I've gone through, go sign up for 1 or 2 of them. Go find some competitors. Go find some luminaries, authorities, media, publishers, and start listening. If nothing else, go sign up and see what somebody is saying, because it's going to give you a sense. You're going to be educating yourself and give you a sense of how you might fit in to that social selling fabric, just by listening more. All right, so analytics, metrics, it's all about you. You can measure a million things, about a million things, as you know. There's only 2 or 3 that are really important in the beginning. And one happens to your own credibility internal to your company, and that's what's happening with your own employees, your friends. how are the employees themselves seeing you in the space? Are they enjoying the posts that you're making? Are they seeing the shares? Do they get a chance to like them? Can they turn it and share with their own book of business? How are the executives responding? Really, really powerful when executives are on phone calls and one of their peers say, hey, I just saw that on Instagram. I saw your thing on LinkedIn. They go from being passive to engaging and want to be becoming more involved in that infrastructure of social media. And customers themselves, they love to see what you're doing. What we know about customers and getting into those consideration sets is if they see you in 2 or 3 places, they think of you as legitimate. If they can see you in a social environment, a digital environment, if they see you on YouTube or pick them, but 2 or 3 impressions in different mediums raises their confidence that you can do the job. These analytical packages are available for free in a lot of cases. And what you're looking for in those first 3 months is growth. How many people are sharing or liking? Engagement. Are they doing something else? A lot of these analytic packages show you the handoffs, make it really easy for you to follow what they have done with your content, where they left and where they went to. And influence. When influence really is it a like? Are they commenting? Are they sharing? Those 3 things are really simple to find, and like I mentioned, they're almost free to in the beginning for the really kind of primitive metrics that you're going to want to use for those 3 months. So Google Quality Score, a lot of web analytic people, a lot of social media people, we don't know what goes into a Google Quality Score. It's an algorithm that is highly secretive, proprietary. There are people who guess what's in there, but there are signals to that algorithm that they want to use to post you higher in this problem-solving journey. Page speed is one. So latency on that very first thing I gave you, Grader, will tell you how fast your page loads. It tells you how competent the design is, but page speed is important. How often you refresh content. Think of the blog. Think of doing that once a week, and refresh content is an attraction to Google in this algorithm. If you're in social in any way, think YouTube for sure because they own them, but in any way, it's another one of those check marks that Google spends more time thinking about you and their crawlers and about where to put you in terms of organic search and linked content. Are you linking to other people, and are people linking to you? How do you make Google look at you? And it really comes down to using some of these pieces of science that we know happen in that algorithm. Last clue, last fun thing you can do today, and this is part of the analytic tools, is this is a link. You can just post it into your browser, and you can go out and use it, not just for yourself, but also with some of your competitors, and you get a lot of really interesting way to look at how social media's impact is being felt in your space, with you or with your competitors, or just in general. And a lot of great tools. I can't remember, I think all of these are free, but it gives you a chance to see how you're doing, particularly when you're in that 3-month period. So last slide. Remember that the internet today wants to be pointed at you for commerce. It wants to be, but you have to be involved. You have to be able to write the way people are asking questions, and think about how you ask questions to Google or Netflix or LinkedIn or YouTube today, and you're going to start figuring out that vocabulary that points the internet, points Google at you. The balance between what you're doing on your website and what you want to do in social selling, it's not an option anymore, because if you're not going to do it, your competitors are going to do it at your expense. You choose. I think lastly, you got to measure. You have to measure your success, because with your bosses particularly, and we all have bosses, they believe numeric equivalence more than, well, this happened. But I will tell you, as a last comment, there will be several happy accidents that take place when you start being active on the website and being active in social media. Is one of those huge companies that you haven't been able to get into will look at something you're doing, will subscribe to something you're doing, will watch something you're doing. And it's exciting to see when that happens. And while it's a happy accident once, it'll start becoming a rhythm if you keep building that content, and you can start being yourself an authority in the space. And being an expert means, in fact, that you can close more business, retire quota, and make some sales heroes.